Jake Webb from Methyl Ethel. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
Jake, you've gone from being an artist creating music in your bedroom to this seven-piece live stage band. Was that always the plan from the beginning?
Well, I would say that there are elements of this band at the moment that would have been a dream of mine for a long time. They're nestled away in there somewhere. I think I saw Wolf and Cub years and years ago. I saw them playing with two drummers, and that always seemed like an exciting prospect. So it not at the forefront of my mind, but somewhere in there, I think it was a plan.
Yeah, your music is quite eclectic. I'm just wondering, what were the albums that you listened to through your teens? Were they just as eclectic?
I suppose so. I suppose because I played in a lot of high school bands, I embraced a lot of what was happening, what we were playing. You know, I guess all of the sort of jazz side of things, but studying music actually got me interested in people like Maurice Ravel and a lot of classical composers, and especially the sort of the modern composers and things. But one of my closest friends in high school also introduced me to Björk, and so we started listening to and never stopped listening to Björk as well. And I think, yeah, eclectic insofar as I probably get bored of music once I absorb it all into myself and need to go and find something new, you know.
Yeah, you've got a new album, Are You Haunted, coming out on February 18th. Albums are generally a result of what's going on in and around an artist's life at the time. What was going on for you while this album was being created?
Well, I think by staying still and in one place for a long time, it made me reflect more on sort of the wider landscape, you know, the kind of the world at large and what was going on. And perhaps as well, it was, I think in 2020, I didn't read the news at all the whole year. It was sort of a self-imposed thing, but then kind of dialing back in 2021, it was just there's been a lot going on, so it was just a way, I guess, of understanding that, but in a kind of indirect way. It's always work. I'm always working to serve the song, and the greater themes within the songs kind of present themselves along the way.
Why did you decide to call the album Are You Haunted?
Well, I thought that there was I came across this this video, kind of, I guess it was a sort of a performance art video by, I think it was by Ai Weiwei, but I've since tried to find it and I couldn't find it. But that I thought was called, it had something in it which said, "Are we haunted by homeless ghosts?" And it was talking about, I think it was soldiers who had died in battle on one of the Pacific Islands, and I just thought that was a really interesting idea. That idea of the homeless ghost, you know, the wandering spirit. And so then I started being interested in that idea of being haunted by not just spirits of deceased peoples, but by historical figures, not historical figures per se, but just by our shared histories and the ways in which we've behaved over the years, and things like you could say climate change being a result of actions and things put into place by people from history, you know. then also there are kind of the behaviors of your past selves and sort of your past self as in your lifetime, but you know, your younger self being kind of you're haunted by actions that you've made back then and all those kinds of things. And so that was sort of, that became where I drew all of the thoughts and bits and pieces about the world over the year. It was kind of through this lens of kind of a haunting, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a sonic vision for the album as a whole, or was it more just knitting together a bunch of songs that you had available at the time?
In a way, I kind of cleaned out my audio closet, and I'd always had loads and loads of even completed songs that were just sitting on hard drive and around, giving me that false sense of achievement, or a false sense of potential that these songs could be these great songs. And I just decided I wanted to cut that out completely, you know, kind of cut the bullshit and really put these songs to the test and finish them and see if they could stand up and be good. And that's why I kind of rewrote songs over and over. So I took a lot of pieces from old, brought in pieces from new, but the vision was more of space, you know, trying to create a little more space, have a little more poise in the music, and let them kind of evolve beyond, like on their own in a way, and not try to make something, set out to make something, try to just follow a little bit more.
The song Ghosting opens the album, almost has an operatic vibe to it. Why did you decide to open the album with that?
Yeah, I can't remember who, I mean, I always like to ease the listener in if you possibly can, because I think that there is a sort of starting gently can sort of help the arc of the whole record. In a way as well, I think it's the most challenging song on the record. I spent a lot of time listening over the year to Stravinsky and I was listening also to Tristan and Isolde a bit, that Wagner opera. So I was sort of interested in like the tritone and bits and pieces of sort of experimental, you know, or slightly avant-garde composition. And there was just a part of the way that I came in on, like, I think it's the seventh, or just like a non-traditional, you know, note for the very first of the album. It was exciting to me to really sort of say with music that this hopefully will be something a little bit different, or heading in a slightly different direction for what you might expect, you know. Try to do that in a more conscious way.
Another track, In a Minute Sublime, quite a big production. Are those real strings or plugins? Because they sound pretty real to me.
They are real. They are not real strings, because that would have been very nice, I've got to say. But in a way, I think I actually recorded. Lyndon, who plays in the band, is a string player as well. So I recorded some strings, and I thought that this actual plugin sounds so nice and lush, and in a way, because I'm gonna bury them a little. It would almost be sacrilege to have to do that to the real strings. I would love to actually play this with an ensemble, but I think maybe it sounds like real strings because I wrote all the parts out individually and recorded them all in as it was the string section. So I'm glad to hear that they sound real, but it doesn't bother me too much if someone thinks that they don't sound that real. They're
yeah.
You can get carried away.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed when I was listening to the album, particularly on the platform that was given to me, was the structure of the songs. And I noticed when I was looking at each track, they're all completely different structurally in regard to spacing, which is quite remarkable because I looked at other albums and there was a lot of similarities. Is that something you're aware of when you're creating music?
To not, you mean to not keep it the same?
No, yeah, just the fact that every track has that spatial difference, I suppose. Do you realize you're doing that as you're doing it?
I guess well, no, not really, but in a way that is a good result to me, is to sort of have just the right kind of flow of things. And I mean, it's kind of like giving my album an ultrasound just to see if it's got, you know, a heart beating inside there and being shown the graph, and it's true, you know. It's a good result to hear that the, I don't know, that the flow and that is kind of, yeah. I mean, I just try not to think about some things too much, but yeah, there's an intention there somewhere. Yeah.
One of my favorite tracks on the album is Proof, with Stella Donnelly on it. How did you two hook up?
I sent her a text message and I asked if she'd be interested in coming and singing something on something, and the ever obliging Stella said yes and came in and did a great job. I spent the whole day with her. I got her to do, we did so many vocal takes, just experimenting her, standing around the room, shouting things out, and it was really fun. It was a really good experimental vocal session. But yeah, I think it worked out really well. She's a great friend, and yeah, I think she'll hopefully join us as often as she can to play the song when we play it live, which will be good fun.
Yeah. Is there a track on the album that's closer to your heart than others?
Well, A Minute Sublime, I wrote, the room that I'm in right now is actually in a studio that was owned by a really close friend of mine who passed away a couple of years ago. And that's kind of my song about us and for him. So that one, it can't not be sort of emotional for me. But there are pieces throughout that I find emotionally charged, but it's not a particularly personal record. That's probably the one kind of sort of, yeah, personal story or bit from my life that's in there. But I purposely wanted to, I felt the courage to be able to speak about broader things and even just some banal kind of things this time around, not have to kind of, felt like I didn't really have to pour out my soul or anything like that to make the record. I thought, I guess inspired by a lot of those kind of proto-punk or kind of, I guess like David Byrne sort of artists who can say so much with so little, you know.
Yeah. How's your cutoff valve? Are you good at knowing when a song or even an album is done?
I'm definitely getting better, but I think in the past I probably had called it too early. So my problem was probably more that I was not spending enough time on things. But as far as mixing goes, something that I have taken on more of now and actually am doing a lot of, and like, because I love to mix, I think that's the part of the job that I need to call quicker or work faster and end it faster, because there's just so much damage that I feel like I can do by spending too much time on things.
Yeah. Well, what was the main gear you used on the album? What were the tools you used to create the music?
I did a lot of. It was really fun when mixing. I did all of the effects live and like sent things out to delays and was sort of playing all of the effects as I was mixing. I have this called MS-20 synthesizer, which I learned to use as sort of a texture, like a color in to help with body for things. I have a secondary. I have an old laptop that I use to play all of the strings and things out of and back into my analog kind of recording equipment. It still goes into a computer again, but in a way to kind of give the sort of digital side of things a little bit more life. But really, it's just kind of drums, a nice bass, guitar, a couple of synthesizers, and a room and microphones. I think this time around has been the most exciting thing. Doing all of the percussion, because I got really into this year these South Indian rhythms from Rajasthan, and I know that Indian music can be a real cliche for like Western musicians to sort of go their kind of George Harrison route, but there's something about those trancey, droning rhythms that I thought were really great, and so that to me is a big part of the record. Is me sitting in a room with all of these toms around me, just playing with many drumsticks, just like gently on the side, and all of those kinds of things. That to me is the main sound. Is the room that I'm looking into right now.
Yeah. And how much thought have you put into transferring the album to the live scenario? Is it going to be tricky?
Well, no, not anymore, because we actually just finished on Friday learning the whole record from start to finish, and we've recorded it too. And I'm mixing today the results of it, so it's going to be really exciting to play to an audience. And the cool thing for me is that it's already taken on a new life. I think the band has brought it to life in such an incredible way. And I think it can even get better. There are parts of it that will continue to sort of grow.
Jake, do you have any bucket list projects in the back of your mind that you want to get to one day that maybe we wouldn't expect of you?
I was going to take a lot of the ideas, the string ideas that I'd sewn into this record and write some sort of chamber music, chamber orchestra piece, or some sort of experimental orchestral piece. I would love to do that, and I think I will just do it at some point. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel lucky that there are. I feel like there's a lot of things that I still will just be able to do and will just do in the future. So whether that's working on that sort of thing, or I don't know, plenty of different things.
Yeah. The album's out on Feb 18th. How's 2022 looking for you?
I've got to say, the crystal ball is foggy, and I can't see anything. I have no idea what's going to happen, and I think it's probably maybe even wise to not put too much expectation on the year ahead. But I still feel positive, and I'm excited to get the record out, which is a positive.
Yeah. It's a great album, Jake. It's called Are You Haunted, out February 18th, and it's been great to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.